one thing that, just to be totally honest, I think one thing that I struggle with forgiveness is this reconciliation of justice and empathy and holding both of those at the same time. And I know, especially I'm a father, I've got young kids. I can't imagine someone hurting one of my children. And if they did, there would be a very strong sense of, wanting to seek justice, and maybe even justice in the form of vengeance. And maybe that's one way to reconcile an injustice gap. I'm curious if how you think about holding justice and empathy at the same time. And then two is like, is vengeance actually is that something that's been researched and studied? And I think I could, from my own personal experience and seeing, in the military construct and in war, the vengeance I've always seen imparts a cost on the individual that's executing it. It's not a matter of if, but when that comes. But you're the expert here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think the important thing about justice and forgiveness is that they are not in the same ballpark. Forgiveness is an internal experience. Justice is an interpersonal or societal experience. And what that means is they're not opposed to each other. So I can forgive the young man who murdered my mother. And yet, I can still want to see him come to justice. I'm not going to inflict this justice on him because I give up my right to vengeance when I forgive, my personal right to vengeance when I forgive. But he's going to have to face the justice system if he gets caught. He will have to be tried. Now, what happens is I have this injustice gap, and that's internal, right? So it's on the same ball field as forgiveness is. So instead of justice being opposed to forgiveness internally, my forgiveness is able to reduce the injustice gap. They work together, justice, makes it easier to forgive, not harder. So, but you're right in terms of vengeance or retaliation or retribution, that is a perfect way for me to get rid of my injustice gap. But the interpersonal costs are terrible because I feel my pain more than I feel your pain. So if I think you hurt me with 3 units of pain, and I say, well, I'm just going to pay him back 3 units of pain. So I give you what I think is 3 units of pain. It doesn't feel like 3 to you. It feels like 5. So you say, wait a minute, I hurt him with 1 unit of pain. He thinks it's 3, but I hurt him with 1. He gave me back 5. Oh my gosh, I owe him 4. So you need to pay me back 4. So do you see that this creates basically a blood feud, or somebody gets so injured that they can't respond back. And then I have guilt and, all kinds of maybe shame and moral injury and other things that is that cost you talked about for the person inflicting a vengeance on somebody else. So it's very costly to inflict vigilante justice, which is vengeance.